Hi, everybody. Gary Ryder, that cute and cuddly South Texas trailer trucker. Oh, well, not on the radio, but you knew me from Kilt and Gillies and some other places down there. John Schubert asked me to tell the story of how I met Charlie Daniels and what that was like. Actually, I got to work with Charlie. I'm going to say two times. I'm thinking three, but I'd really have to search my head to find out where that third one was. First time I met him, I was in Little Rock, and I was doing an afternoon drive at KAAY, which is a 50,000 watt, or as we used to say, the 50,000 watt powerhouse of the South, baby. We'd throw that Skywave or change the transmitter pattern at about 5 o'clock in December. And that signal just went everywhere, all up and down the Midwest. And it was one of the more well known rock and roll radio stations in that area. I was real fortunate to get that job. I was working for a guy named Ray Lincoln, and we called him Stinking Old Ray Lincoln, but he was just the best guy in the world to work for. Ex-Marine, combat vet. He and I hit it off because I'm ex-Air Force. And he came up to me in the control room. I was on the air. I just got on at about 3:15, something like that. And he came up and said, "Hey, Gary," he said, "I know you usually want more warning than this, and normally I would give you more warning than this, but I've got an opportunity to bring somebody in to be on the air with you this afternoon. So I thought I'd run it by you, see what you thought about it." I said, "Okay, who is it?" He said, "You ever heard of Charlie Daniels?" And I went, "Wow, man, you got to be kidding me. You're bringing Charlie Daniels up here to be on the radio with me this afternoon?" He said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "I'm not sure what time he's going to get here, but if you'll get him on the air and work with him," he said, "I don't know what kind of a guy he is. I've never been around him, but I've heard nice things." I said, "Okay, cool. Yeah, bring him up whenever he gets here. I don't care. Don't even make him wait. Just bring him on up here. Doesn't matter what I'm doing." So I guess it was about 4:45, and Charlie showed up with his road manager, who was a really nice guy, and he's still involved with Charlie. His name is David Corlew, and they came up to the control room. Of course, I stood up and introduced myself, and there was just something about the eye contact with this man. When we hit it off, we hit it off, you know. And when he looked at me with those piercing eyes of his and he smiled real big, I thought, this is going to be fun. It really will. So, as luck would have it, I bought my first guitar that day. It was a Yamaha acoustic, and I had the case propped up in the back corner of the control room. And Charlie and I started talking just about stuff, just about his music. And, you know, he was doing a show at the Little Rock Coliseum the next night, and he asked me if I was coming out, and I said, "Well, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know about it." And he said, "Yeah, yeah, I'd like you to come out." And I said, "Okay, cool." So we get on the air, and we're doing the usual stuff, you know. "Hey, where are you from?" "I'm from Mount Juliet, Tennessee," and yada yada yada, and it just went real well. We just hit it off. And he looked at the back of the control room, and he spotted my guitar case back there, and he says, "Is that your guitar?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Do you play?" I said, "You're going to laugh at me." I said, "I just bought that thing today, and I don't play now, but I'm going to learn." I said, "But I'll tell you what, while you're here, if you wanted to check it to make sure it was in tune, I'd appreciate that, because I don't know how to do that." He said, "Sure, I'd be proud to." Now, there's a word that Charlie Daniels uses a lot: proud, um, honored. This is the nicest Southern gentleman you'll ever want to meet. But anyway, so we get the guitar out, and he tunes it all up. I said, "Charlie, I don't know what you'll think about this." I said, "But do you ever play songs live on the radio?" Because I didn't know what his reaction was going to be. I'm trying to get him to play a song on my radio show. He said, "Sure, yeah, I'd do that." He says, "What would you like to hear?" Well, at the time, he had a song out about an old guy named Lucius Clay who lived way back in the woods in Woolly Swamp. And I thought that was the coolest song. And I said, well, I've always been kind of partial to Woolly Swamp. He said, I'd be honored to play that for you. There's that other word he likes. So he played Woolly Swamp on the air with me up there. Went out to the Coliseum the next night, and he rolled out the red carpet. You know, just a really nice guy. Him and David Corlew both. Okay, long story short, he does a 4.5-hour kick butt, rock and roll, boogie woogie, country music, Charlie Daniels show. Comes back to me after the show was over and said, you know what, I'm really glad you came out to see my show tonight, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to meet you. And he said it was fun, thank you. And I'm going, wow, he's thanking me. I should be kissing his boots. So let's fast forward about 4 years down the road to Houston, Texas, and I'm working at Kilt. And Rick Candia came up to me and said, Gary, he said, Charlie Daniels is going to do a show down at the Summit this weekend. He said, you want to go down and MC the show? And I said, yeah, hello. I said, yeah, I've already met him. I said, and I told him the story that I just told you. And I said, yeah, man, that would be cool. So I went down there, and I took my ex, that juicy little blonde that's in a picture with me and Jerry Clower in my albums. She was a hoot. Anyway, took my mom and dad with me down there to the show. And when we got back there, I walked up to him, and he's sitting there in a chair, leaning back in the chair with his arm over the back of the chair, and he's talking to one of the reporters from Channel 11 television. And so I just stood back. You know, I didn't want to interrupt, and he's doing a little TV thing. So I stood back and I waited, and when the gal got done, I don't know who it was a blonde gal. When she got done, I noticed blondes. I can't help it. When she got done and left, Charlie's kind of over his shoulder looking back at me a little bit. I said, hi, Charlie. He said, we've met before, haven't we? I said, yes, sir. He said, I'm lousy with names, but I never forget a face. He said, enlighten me. I said, you came up to my radio station in Little Rock at KAAY, and he says, Beaker Street. And I said, well, I didn't do that show. That was on all nights, but yeah, I said, I'm Gary Ryder. Oh, that's right, that's right. So we sat down and talked. I introduced him to Sandra Lynn. And I said, you know what, Charlie, I brought my parents down here to the show with me tonight. He said, really? I said, yeah. I said, they're out in the audience. He said, do me a favor, Gary. He said, after the show is over tonight, he says, would you bring them backstage? He said, I'd really be honored to meet them. I thought, he wants to meet my mom and dad? Wow. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I said, you sure you're going to be up for it? He says, oh, yeah. He said, that I'll look forward to it. I said, okay. So I talked to David Corlew for a while. David's still with him. And then I went up on stage in the Summit in front of, I don't know how many thousands of people that place holds for sure. I think it's 40 or 50, something like that. And it was wild. It was just like, you know, I went out there. And, of course, back then everybody's doing the Bic cigarette lighter thing in the air. I said, everybody ready to see Charlie Daniels tonight? Everybody going, yeah! You know how crowds are at concerts. And so anyway, I brought him out on stage. And what was really cool, I don't remember who his drummer was, but Gary Cornelius, Gilly's drummer, he'll probably tell me when he sees this. He knows everybody, which is really a cool thing. He's on my Facebook friends list. But anyway, his drummer started this thing on the drums with this pow, 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 boom, boom, boom with the bass. And I mean, it just gave me goosebumps to walk out on that stage in the dark with one spotlight on me. And I went out and did my little rah-rah thing for the radio station. Thanked everybody for coming out. You know how we do. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the man from Mount Juliet, Tennessee, my new friend, Charlie Daniels. You know, and I did that, and his drummer just kicked right into the song.